Hi guys, welcome back to Skincare Anarchy. This is Ekta, and I have yet another amazing guest for you guys today. I love her line. I'm super excited for her to tell us all about it, and I'm sure you've seen it in a lot of places because it's Instagram favorite. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to the founder of Kiramoon, Lindsey Martin. Lindsey, welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you. Super happy to be here. It's an honor.
Oh, the honor is truly mine. I would love to get started by finding out a little bit more about you and your background and what really kind of, motivated you and inspired you to try, creating your own line and actually creating it, not try.
Definitely. Yes, I think we're past trying, hopefully.
Yeah.
Happy to share a little bit. So Kiramoon is actually my third career. So I've done a couple of things before I got here. I started out in fashion, working for magazines in New York. And I decided to move back to my hometown of Austin, which is where I live now. And I had an 8-year career in software sales, which I actually really loved. It was a huge transition from, fashion and the creativity, but I really fell in love with the business side of things. And a few years into that, I fell in love with the business side. And I thought, wow, what if I could have a career where I could marry my love for fashion and design and brand with that business side. And that kind of happened at a time in my life where I was super busy. I was building my career. I was very focused on it. And I had very little time for myself at the end of the day. And skincare for me became this very sacred, special moment. It was so much more than skincare. I'm sure you can relate with your busy schedule. Sometimes just having five minutes to yourself means the world. And it became such a special self-love ritual. And I had these formulas that I loved, these products that I loved. And I just felt like the branding and the packaging and the messaging of the products was so serious and so clinical. And I said, this is great. Of course you want skincare to be effective and work, but it's so much more than that to me. And I thought there's something missing, this element of joy that I'm experiencing isn't portrayed in these brands. And so that's really where the idea for Kiramoon was born.
Wow, I love that. And I think that it's very interesting to, like, for me, listening to everyone's journey and what really brought them to a place where they thought, you know what, let me share this part of myself that is so focused on self-care and self-love with the world through a brand. I think that's like the most exciting part for me as just the host of this podcast. And I love hearing that. And because I completely agree with you. I think that when we take that time, and for me, it was also my inspiration when I started the podcast. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, I love talking about skincare. Why don't I just get on, a mic? So that's amazing. I would love to talk about the unique approach though, because I know that Kiramoon it's a beautiful brand and the aesthetics are beautiful and so bubbly and just, I mean, it just makes you happy looking at it. So I really want to talk to you about that vision and that, what really inspired you to go in that direction with it, so that when people look at it, I mean, it just makes you smile, when you look at it. So
definitely. So I think, when I fell so in love with my skincare routine, it felt like these magical potions, right? Like I would open my vanity at the end of the day. And the only way I could describe that feeling to people was the feeling of being a little girl and getting a Barbie for Christmas. And it really felt that way to me. And so when I decided to move forward with creating the brand, I thought, every single customer touch point needs to give them that magic feeling. Everything from the packing tape we use until they open the box, the copy, the fonts, the colors. And so that kind of like childlike wonder and excitement has been kind of the North Star for all of the design and naming and copy point decisions that we've made. And I think that it translates. Sometimes I look at our inventory and I'm like, oh, it looks like a Barbie princess room, but that was by design.
Oh, it's amazing. I love it though. I mean, I'm the same way, Barbie all the way. Hello.
Yes.
I remember when I came to America, the first night I came to America, my dad, because, I was 5 years old and I'd always wanted a Barbie doll. And my dad actually had a Barbie, like a very pink, like typical Barbie sitting on my bed, my first bed in America. And at that moment was beautiful. And I remember like being obsessed with stickers and, obsessed with these little things. And your brand, it brings me back to all these amazing memories as a child, because, we forget, right? We forget all the cute little things we left. So I really like that. And, I like that you're really kind of showcasing that, because I think that part of ourselves that's still a child, it needs that, and it's like self-care and skincare is much more, it's more than just like putting products in your face. It's like, that's why I'm focusing on the brand's aesthetics, because I think that's very important as well. So I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I want to talk about more about like the focus of the line, and like really like the main skincare focus you had in mind when you were really kind of formulating the products or coming up with like your ideas of what you wanted to put out there. Like, can you go into more detail about that?
Definitely. So, again, with that idea of joy in mind, really thinking about formulations, we wanted to start with a couple of traditional, skincare categories that give you that feeling. So, the first is a face mask. I
Mhm.
associate a face mask again with that self-care ritual. Maybe it's the Sunday night and you're finally put your kids to bed, or your shift is over and you say, I'm going to have a self-care moment. So we had to start with a mask. I think also a serum, because
Yeah.
serums are just that kind of like potent boost that you really buy for performance. And I thought that kind
Yes.
of fit that as well, that like, hopeful feeling you get when you buy a new product. So that's the direction we took when selecting the first two formulas. But overall, as a line long term, again, the vision is to take something as simple as a moisturizer or a cleanser and formulate it in a way that it's super effective, but also package it in a way that when it sits on your vanity, it delights you, whether that's a unique bottle that we've used, or the colors, or the name of the product. So
Yeah.
as our line expands, it is, it's really just those basics delivered in a way that delights the customer.
I love that. I like that. And there's nothing wrong with like, brands keeping it to the point, and like, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of consumers get lost, you know what I mean? Like they get so lost and oh gosh, I remember like when I was first starting off, just at Sephora, and like, seeing all the brands and seeing the products, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't need plasma and I don't need this. And I was so lost. So I love that you've
Yes,
kept it simple, in that way. Though that's really good. Especially
for
I
sure.
worry about like Gen Z, I think, because for me, when I look at Gen Z, I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they're not using like too much on their face, like just
Absolutely.
that scares me
And
like, a
I
little
think
bit.
that's something that is important to us too. Like, we capped the active AHAs in our Star Jelly mask to 10%. You can put more than that and sell within the US, but we want it to be approachable. I think getting too advanced is kind of misaligned with the bigger brand mission. So yeah, we're gonna make approachable basics. And then I think one of the ways that we will innovate is with our self-care tools and accessories, right? So we have the
Yeah.
moon globes, which are the freezable glittery facial rollers. We have the heart mirror that says work your magic. So it's all part of a bigger mission to inspire joy and self-care. So even if we're not doing, like all the most insane new advanced, patented ingredients, our mission is a little bit broader than that.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone doesn't need to be a clinical grade skincare line. We have enough of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's definitely a need depending on age as well. And I think that's a huge kind of a hot topic, I think, to talk about in this industry, because, when people discuss skincare, they're always inclined to go directly to science and directly to like anti-aging and like, just the
Yes.
needs of the consumer that's in their 40s or their 50s, or you know what I mean, or just really coming to the point where they're like, wait a minute, I have to do something for my skin now, because I'm
Right.
starting to see wrinkles. But I think that if we kind of allow for a space where it's like acceptable for, younger consumers to feel like, okay, yeah, I have my serum and I have my, my fun little stuff that I use and it works for me. And that's really actually promoting preventative, measures that we can take at an earlier age to like make sure that we're being
Yeah.
healthy. You know what I mean? So I like that. I really like that you guys lean towards that rather than this like sterile packaging and like
Yes.
um
And I think going back to younger generations, especially Gen Z, I think preaching science to them, they're
yeah.
way too smart for that. And they expect way more. They're educated. And, even now millennials, like people know what ingredients are, they understand ingredient lists. So I think they're really looking to, just it should be assumed that your product is effective. Of course, it's going to work. What else are you doing? What's your sustainability policy? Like what is
Yeah.
your give back program? And so I think those are the things that we're going to see a lot more from brands, because I think customers are going to be looking for that even more than that clinical science approach.
Yeah, I agree. I think a brand is definitely a lot more than just, science. It's a lot of things, like, in terms of, like, with the psychology aspect, I think about it a lot. And I think I've mentioned this before on my episodes that, people really, when you shop a brand, you're not just shopping just a product, you're also shopping for something that resonates with you, on a
Mm-hmm.
psychological level. And that's a very important thing, because part of self-care is mental health, and
Yes.
a lot of that has to do with, well, what do I feel comfortable with? What do I want to look at on my vanity every day? You know what I mean? And these kind of things play a big role in our days. So I completely echo everything that you said. I want to move on though, because I do want to talk about, just kind of like the feedback that you've gotten about your line, and, like, how is the whole, like, the overall look of, where you want to go with it? Like, what's the end goal, or is there an end goal?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think if you had asked me this a few months before I launched, I would have told you, I really want to curate the customer experience. So D2C, e-com is very important to me. That was kind of where I was hoping to take the brand. And I think that was very naive of me. And now, just 7 months in, I've realized how important Omni is. And so we're focusing a lot more on retail partnerships. And
Mm,
I've actually found a lot less friction there than, the D2C. We're still so new. We're trying to optimize the website. And of course, with iOS 14 updates, everyone's struggling with, ads on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, I think now where I see us going is finding a home at some really meaningful retailers that we can grow with over the next couple of years. Our vision is to release 2 to 3 new SKUs every year until, we have the funding that can support more of that, or until the business takes us in another direction. We
yeah.
have a product launch in October, and we're just going to try to make it through the busy holiday season this year. But yeah,
Wow.
those
That's
are some of the,
exciting.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. So I hope everyone heard that. New products in October. So stay tuned for
Yes,
that.
yes,
I really like that. And I want to actually ask you, as a smaller brand, I want to ask you what your journey has been like so far with trying to get retail partnerships, because this is an area of this industry that for me also is extremely like a gray area and very foggy. And I think there's not enough information out there for entrepreneurs in terms of, like, understanding, like, who to reach out to, how to reach out. So can you
yes,
share some of those, like, details with everybody so we get a better
yes,
idea?
of course. So my experience has been unique, but I'm happy to share my learning. So I actually started our social media over a year before we launched. And so when we launched in January, I think we had 8,000 Instagram followers and almost 30K on TikTok. And so
Wow.
within just a couple months of launching, I had buyers from retailers reaching out to me, which is, I think it sometimes happens that way. I don't think that's a good strategy, but that's how it worked out for us. And so if it hadn't happened that way, the way that you go about it is you decide who your dream retailers are. And it's really not like throwing spaghetti against a wall. You really need to think about who your customer is, how you can have, a unique value proposition for them within a store's current product mix. And then you put together a pitch deck, which, tells a little bit about the brand, a little bit about the products. And then you reach out to the buying teams. And this is just cold emailing. You find their information literally on LinkedIn, you email them. And I think from what I've heard, what they're really looking to hear is, what are you offering and how are you going to get your customers to come into our store to buy it? So, I think
Okay.
for Kiramoon, an example of that could be like your next Gen Z Luxe product, because we do have Gen Z customers. We're priced a little higher than some of, those other Gen Z brands that you think. So that may be something that if I was reaching out to a retailer that didn't have a ton of Gen Z reach, that's how I could, pitch Kiramoon. Or I think our mental health aspect, again, there's a lot of retailers that are looking for that give back, like that more than just a brand.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but
No, it
from talking to
does.
other founders, I think it's just cold emailing. It's just pitching.
Yeah, no, that definitely answers. Like, I mean, I think that's, that's really something that it really kind of adds to the reason why this is a gray area, right? Because there's no like
Yes.
protocol in place. There's no like, this is steps 1, 2, 3, 4 that you have to do. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a lot of hard work and a lot of, just kind of YOLO,
Yeah,
So
exactly. And I think
yeah.
that we'll get there. I think I'm happy with the partnerships we've secured this year. And I think, of course, the dream retailers, if anyone out there's listening at Sephora or Ulta, those are really the dream retailers. But I haven't pitched them yet because I really wanted to get our supply chain in place. I wanted to get a really good understanding of who our customers are, what products they want. So come next year, when I'm ready to pitch to those retailers, I'm not going to, make those rookie mistakes when I'm trying
Yeah.
to build that partnership. So I will get there. I'll keep you updated and let you know how that pitching goes. But for this year, I'm kind of using our current partners to stabilize and to really learn because I've never done this before. So
Yeah, and I mean, the best way to learn is to fail and then try again and get back on the horse. And
yes.
I'm not saying that you're failing because I think your brand is beautiful and it deserves all
Thank
the
you.
recognition.
Thank
But
you.
but yeah, like anyone listening, I think definitely you need to check out Kiramoon. I love brands like this because I think they, like I already said, like we have so many different demographics of consumers, and you cannot
Hmm.
have 3 or 4 monopolizing brands in this industry. You
Yes.
just can't do it, and it's not fair to the consumer who wants they want the other look or the other kind of packaging or the other kind of approach. Like you have to have options. So I
Yes.
think the more options, the better. And I think if anyone's listening from Sephora or Ulta, please let Lindsey know, and please get Kiramoon in your store. But yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit more about just because I know you guys are very much about like, being clean. And I've noticed on your website, you listed all there that you don't have any extra fragrance, no phthalates, parabens, and all that. So where did you, when you were coming up with this, like, where did you really get your, I guess, go-to vision for what you wanted in terms of the formulation for your products? Like, I mean, did you know, like, I don't want this, and this, or did you go with the chemist's idea?
So I started with I don't want this, this, and this. And
Mm-hmm.
we're currently clean by Sephora standards. And also, as we formulate, of course, I go to my chemist and say, I don't want this, I don't want this. But if there's something that I don't recognize, I do the research. And if there's even the smallest hint of you Google this and, there's something that says that even at small amounts, like I just try to stay away from anything that would give anyone even the slightest sense of concern. That said,
Yeah.
we're seeing a shift right now around the dialogue surrounding clean beauty. I think we're going to see a little bit of a shift because there are a lot of ingredients that people have labeled as dirty or bad, and they really truly are safe at certain percentages. So I
Yes.
think that right now, even now compared to when we launched 7 months ago, there's a different attitude
Mm.
about it. And so I think that, we're doing ethically what we feel is appropriate, but we're also listening to the consumer. What do they want to know about our formulas? What do they care about? And so we're kind of letting that guide us. So yeah, I mean, we'll see where this movement takes us. But for now, with the FDA, they really don't do any regulating. So it's up to brands, it's up to chemists to make sure that it's safe and something that, we can all feel good about putting on in our bodies. So that's really the standard that we've set.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I think that a lot of brands are kind of down that road, and it's a very gray area. There really is no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know the EU has like their like list of things they don't allow, and all that good stuff, and I love that. But I mean, you can always modify that. That list is always changing. So,
Yes.
I think to some degree, when it comes to the science that I've found, just doing my own research, you're right. You're 100% right, because what we consider to be bad today can be easily shifted tomorrow by a study that comes out and says, well,
Yes.
there was nothing that happened. You know what I mean? If you expose to
Exactly.
this, it's like, there were like, I think like 4 or 5 months ago or a year ago, there were like dermatologists saying, well, we're having people come in and tell us that they think sunscreen causes skin cancer. And it's like, what? So it's just,
Yeah.
it really is confusing. So I agree with you. And I think that's the best approach, honestly. One thing I want to ask you though, as a solo like entrepreneur, I'm guessing you don't have a partner in this. You're like the sole founder.
No,
Yeah.
it's
So
it's just me.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that, like all the hurdles and all the good stories and the good moments. Can you share some of the highlights with us of finding your own brand and all that?
Oh, it's been wild. It's funny. I often ask myself like what it is about me, my personality, my life's trauma that has led me down this road of being kind of a solo entrepreneur. And it's not because I don't like working with people. I do. I think I just had such a personal and unique perspective with Kiramoon. And I found even early on trying to explain it to family and friends and even my designer, I just felt it was so unique. And I understood it so well. I couldn't imagine bringing a partner in early on. Of course, as I build the business, I'm going to need to hire, C-level people that are way smarter than me in other areas that can help. But
Yeah.
yeah, up to this point, doing it alone, I when I hit these milestones, like, getting into retailers or, hitting a certain number of followers or a certain number of sales, it's such an incredible feeling. And it's kind of strange because doing it alone, you have that pride, but no one can know what that feels like but me. It's like strange. It's like
Yeah.
lonely and incredible at the same time. So those are the highs where I think, wow, I literally dreamed this up in my brain a few years ago, and now it's a product right in front of me, which is amazing. And then on the other hand, it's quite lonely and isolating when things are hard or not going well, and I have to make a decision, and it's really scary making those big business decisions, signing on, with a partner or an agency. What if I make the wrong choice? If it doesn't go well, that's all on me too. So you get
Yeah.
100% of the highs and 100% of the lows. It's all on you. So,
Yeah.
um, I think there's pros and cons. Obviously, like I own the majority of my business, which is great, but I do sometimes envy my other beauty brand founder friends that have partners that they can share some of the decision responsibility with.
Absolutely. And trust me, I know what you're talking about. I've been
Yeah,
through my own journey. I get it, and it's also
yeah.
I love that you brought up the trust thing because I've interviewed a lot of like co-founders and stuff. And I've noticed that is that, it's a beautiful thing when you have somebody you can fully 100% trust. But then if
Hmm.
you don't have that, yeah, it goes the other way. So I've
Yep.
also experienced that. So I know what you mean. And I think that I really commend you. I think, it takes a strong person to do things on your own and to kind of pave your own path. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So I really
Thank
commend you for
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
everyone listening, I mean, this has been awesome, Lindsay. Chatting with you has been amazing. I love your brand. I think it genuinely is something that just by looking at puts a smile on your face, and the results of the products are phenomenal. They're wonderful. I love your magic resurfacing facial. Sorry, I couldn't talk for a minute. I love that product. I think everyone should at least try the products. I promise you'll love them. Check out Kiramoon at kiramoon.com. Follow them on Instagram, anywhere you can find them. And thank you again. This has been wonderful.
Thank you. I've loved it.